Hey guys, welcome to the Stride Muay Thai guide for wrapping your hands. In this video I'm going to show you how I wrap my hands and how I wrap the hands of my students so that they have the maximum protection and maximum comfort for while they're training. So hopefully you'll find this video informative and you'll learn some tips along the way. Hey guys, so the first part of wrapping your hands is first of all making sure that you have the right equipment. You're going to find different types of hand wraps out there in the market, but the most common types that you're going to find are your standard cotton hand wraps and what they refer to as the Mexican stretchy hand wraps. For me, I don't have a preference. They're both fine. The most important thing about the hand wraps though that you should be looking for is the length of the hand wraps. I prefer to use the 180-inch hand wraps over the 120-inch hand wraps. The 180-inch hand wraps allow you to wrap in between your fingers, which significantly protects your hand a lot more than if you're just to wrap around the knuckles. So again, at the end of the day, it's a matter of comfort. Your cotton hand wraps will probably give you a little bit more support, whereas your stretchy hand wraps will be maybe a little bit more comfortable. So depending on how you want it to feel while you're wrapping your hands, both of them are adequate. Just make sure you try to use the 180-inch hand wraps and choose the one that's most comfortable for you. All right, before we even start, I'm going to give you guys a little tip to prepare yourself to make your hand wrapping a little bit easier. You'll see here I have a really coiled up hand wrap. This is straight out of the dryer. I just cleaned this for my students. So what I always do first is I roll my wraps Velcro side in. So you'll notice that I have the Velcro side here. I'm going to roll that in on itself, and I'm going to roll as tight as I can all the way. Okay? And another tip while you're doing this is to use your other fingers to spread out the fabric so that you have a nice flat roll. So you'll notice that it's all crinkled here. What I do with my other fingers here, I spread and I pull. I spread and I pull. And after you do this a couple hundred times, it'll be second nature for you. But what you want to do is give yourself some nice prep work to assist yourself in putting your hand wraps on a lot later, because it's a lot easier when you wrap your hands from a roll rather than trying to wrap your hands from a loose wrap like this. You can do it that way, it's just going to take you a little bit longer, and I find that when you wrap it this way, you'll get a nice tight roll on your hands as well. So tip number one, make sure you roll up your wraps before you start. Hey guys, okay, so I've got my hand roll all wrapped up, prepped to make my life a little bit easier. I'm going to show you this demonstration with the stretchy wrap first, because I want to show you a little bit of a tip as well. So when I start my hand wraps, what I don't want to do with this wrap is pull it super tight, because these are a little bit stretchy, and if I pull tight right from the beginning, it's going to want to contract and it might cut off the circulation to my hands. So remember, when you're using these stretchy wraps, give it a firm roll, but don't pull it super tight, okay? So having said that, we're going to start rolling our hands here. What you'll notice when you have your hand wraps is that there's two sides at the loop, okay? If you look here, it's a little bit nicer. The stitching is a little bit nicer. I call this the pretty side, okay? When you flip it over, it's all the work, okay? So we want to hide that messy side. So whenever you start wrapping your hands, you want to have the pretty side facing you. Some of the hand wraps that you get might actually even say this side up right here. So it's a little bit of a dummy's guide for you to put that on. First things first, I put the wrap around my thumb. And I'm going to wrap across the back of my hand. So the easiest way to think about this is if my thumb is pointing this way, then I want my wrap to go the opposite direction. So thumb loop in. I'm going to wrap my wrist 3 times. Okay, so 1, okay, 2, and 3. And you'll notice that because my roll is pre-prepped, it's nice and clean. Okay, so you want to have the cleanest unwrinkled wraps as you can while you're putting these wraps on. Once I've got the 3 wraps around my wrist, I'm going to go under my thumb. So from here, I'm going to wrap underneath my thumb and then go back in the same direction. And I generally like to do that 2 times for my thumb, okay? Right across. Once I'm done that, it's time to wrap my knuckles. Over the back of my hand, I'm going to go from my thumb to my pinky knuckle and give this 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. Here I also like to spread my fingers as wide as I can because I'm going to fill in these gaps later with some of the wrap to make my hand wrap even tighter. Once I've wrapped 3 times around my wrist, I'm going to go across the back of my hand again, and I'm always going to use my thumb as an anchor from this point on. So I'm going to anchor from my thumb to my in between my pinky finger and my ring finger. Okay, so You see there, it's a little bit of a ripple. I can fix that really easily by pulling it tight and pulling it back out. And even if it doesn't, it's fine, okay? The most important thing is to pull the wrap out and make a fist. That's what I always tell my students. So what I do from here is I wrap around that knuckle. That's gonna give it support so that this doesn't unfurl while you're training, okay? So once I've wrapped around the back of my hand, back to the anchor, in between my ring finger and my middle finger, pull the wrap out and wrap that knuckle again, okay? Nice pretty wrap there. Open my fingers one more time in between the middle finger, index knuckle, and one final time around my knuckle. Now, from this point on, depending on the size of your hands, you'll have some excess wrap, okay? So what do you do with that excess wrap? If you're wrapping your hands over and over and over again, then maybe instead of 3 wraps in the beginning, you can do 4. If you want a little bit more wrist support, you can wrap your wrist 4 times instead of 3. It's up to you. Just know how much excess you have. For me, whenever I have excess, I like to give my wrists a little bit of further support. So I might even ride a little bit higher than when I originally started because I want to make sure that I have good support for my wrists so that if by any chance I punch wrong, these wraps will prevent my wrists from bending. And from here, okay, again, Velcro on. And how I know that I've done my wraps right is when I turn my hand over, I usually have an open space here. Okay, that just shows you that I've been wrapping in the right direction. One other little thing that I want to point out, sometimes you might have started that first step wrong where I said put the pretty side up, ugly side down. Not a problem. So let's say I come to the end and my Velcro is the wrong way. It's very easy to fix. You just give it a little twirl and then you can see, so this would be the wrong way. So what I would do right at the end is give it a little twist and then you get it back the Velcro side facing up, okay? Because I've actually seen people realize that they did it the wrong way and start all the way from the beginning. You don't need to do that. Just one simple twist and you're good to go. Hey guys, so hopefully you found this video helpful. I'm gonna leave you with just a couple more tips before I let you go. Just remember, keep practicing putting these hand wraps on. What I used to do when I first started training, I would just sit in front of the TV, and while I was watching TV, I would wrap my hands over and over and over again, because practice does make perfect, right? So you're gonna learn what feels good, where you can be extra tight or you have to loosen up, and just keep trying. One last tip, when you're done your training, okay, and you're taking your hand wraps off, one thing I really do recommend for you to do is let those hand wraps air out, okay? Hang them somewhere, if your gym lets you hang them, or bring them home, hang them on a door, and let the hand wraps dry, okay? The last thing you want to do is to roll up a wet hand wrap, because that's going to trap all the moisture in your hand wrap, and it's going to stink, and you're going to be that partner that no one wants to partner with, okay? So make sure you let your hand wraps air out and wash them often. That way it'll ensure that you have nice, fresh, clean wraps to use over and over again.